I told the floor that you have assisted us directly in direct donation, more than 159 million US dollars since 2009, mostly into health, terutama hal-hal strategik seperti vaksin polio. Beliau bantuannya 1,3 triliun, dan sekarang kita Bio Farma salah satu produsen 2 miliar dosis vaksin tiap tahun, dan ini untuk dimanfaatkan 42 negara di seluruh dunia, dipakai oleh 902 juta orang. Jadi hal-hal semacam ini, belum lagi vaksin lain, teknologi mRNA, dan teknologi pembuatan vaksin yang luar biasa. Terutama beliau sedang kembangkan vaksin TBC untuk dunia, tapi Indonesia akan jadi salah satu tempat yang akan diuji coba. Dan kita harus mengetahui bahwa TBC memakan korban kita cukup besar, yang meninggal hampir 100.000 tiap tahun, dan itu tekad kita untuk menurunkan, dan beliau menunjukkan komitmen beliau untuk terus bantu kita di bidang itu. Juga untuk beliau sedang kembangkan vaksin malaria. So basically I informed them of all your commitments to help us control these very dangerous diseases that are endemic in our country, and the success of the polio vaccine. And we look forward to a breakthrough in the malaria and TBC, which I think will not be too far in the future. Saya kira banyak sekali yang bisa kita bicarakan, tapi untuk mempersingkat, kita buka saja. Maybe we invite you to give us a bit of your ideas, your vision for the future. And tadi saya sudah sampaikan keputusan saya sebagai Presiden Republik Indonesia, karena dukungan beliau, bantuan beliau untuk Indonesia, tapi tidak hanya untuk Indonesia, untuk kepentingan manusia. Saya akan menggelar rapat Dewan Tanda Kehormatan, karena saya ingin atas nama bangsa Indonesia memberi bintang tertinggi kita untuk seorang warga negara asing, karena jasa-jasanya untuk bantu rakyat Indonesia dan rakyat dunia. I just announced that I've decided to convene our council for the national awards, and to award Mr. Bill Gates for his contribution to the Indonesian people and the world humanity, as a mark of his commitment, dedication to humanitarian causes. And we agreed that I will try to do it in September in New York during the United Nations season. So I think this is a lot, not a lot, all of us will be in agreement that you really deserve this for your contribution to the cause of humanity. Thank you very much. I invite you now to... Please.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I'm excited to be here, and I really appreciate the warm welcome the President has given me. It's an exciting week for me. I had a couple days up in Singapore. The foundation is putting a regional office in there that should allow us to collaborate more closely. The Gates Foundation got started in the year 2000, and so actually it'll be on Thursday, after I leave here, I go to New York City, and we'll have a big event to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the foundation, and talk about what we've achieved and what our focus will be as we spend the rest of our resources. As you've heard, we mostly work in health, and when I saw that my ownership of Microsoft would be very valuable, I had to ask, what could I do that would have high impact? And I learned about disease and childhood death, and that for many problems like malnutrition or malaria or tuberculosis, there was very little money going into that. The private sector wasn't doing it because the people who were suffering were mostly very poor, and the type of research needed would require lots of money and lots of patience. And so we made global health the biggest thing for the Gates Foundation. Part of that was creating an organization called Gavi, which was funded by us and governments, and has played a role in providing new vaccines to all the children in the world. And in fact, Indonesia is a great example of that, because you've adopted new vaccines like rotavirus for diarrhea, pneumococcus for pneumonia, now HPV is getting rolled out. And Minister Budi is actually on the board of Gavi. He got to know Gavi well during the pandemic, when that was a very positive relationship between Gavi and Indonesia. So we're carrying that forward. The basic statistic that always is amazing to me is that when the Gates Foundation was started in the year 2000, 10 million children under the age of 5 died that year. And most of that was because of diarrhea, pneumonia, malaria, or a few things that make children vulnerable in their first 30 days. 90% of the deaths were in one of those 4 categories, and so we committed that we would study those, create new tools, including vaccines, and help get them delivered. And so in fact, the number of children who die under 5 has been cut in half. It's now below 5 million. Now that's 5 million too many. And actually in this region, including in Indonesia, that cut in half is true here as well. So it's been an amazing time period, and there's many new tools coming. We need a tuberculosis vaccine, and in fact the trials for a tuberculosis vaccine have started, including with the strong relationship here in Indonesia. We have 2 of the sites where we're testing that vaccine are here, and that will help us know how well it works, and then that'll be a benefit to the entire world. So we're doing those trials in Africa and India and here. Very excited about that. TB is a great example of a disease that, because the rich countries don't have the disease, it just doesn't get hardly any money for diagnostics or drugs or vaccines. And so that's been one of our big focuses. Lots still to do in health. Indonesia is very serious about malnutrition, and we have a number of proven tools like what we call multiple micronutrient supplement that pregnant mothers can take instead of just taking folic acid and iron. They take a pill that actually has many vitamins in it. Indonesia is one of the first to launch that with the goal to get that to all pregnant women very quickly, and it really makes a big difference. A lot of women have anemia, which is an iron deficiency, and so the foundation has an approach where you can just go in one time and get an infusion and it fixes the anemia. And so over the next year or two, we'll come up with a plan to roll that out in Indonesia. So a lot still to be done in health, but the innovation pipeline is very strong, including in low-cost medicine. And of course, as we address infectious disease, where we still have this work to be done, then we also need to start working on heart disease and diabetes and other diseases where the tools will be inexpensive. The only other area to mention that the foundation works in is agriculture, trying to make seeds more productive and understand soils and make fertilizer more appropriate, cheaper, because of course many of the lowest income people in the world are farmers, and so if we can make their crop more reliable, more productive, that's a great thing, including things like chicken and cows, because a lot of the protein and value they get comes from livestock. So it's another area we have good relationships in Indonesia, working on things like banana, where you have a great genetic variety that we can do better on bananas for Indonesia, but also helping avoid some of these diseases. The Gates Foundation loves to encourage philanthropy, and I think philanthropy can be a very powerful force. Of course, it's not a substitute for the private sector or business. It's actually quite small compared to those other two. And yet there are things like piloting new ways of doing education or piloting new medical tools where philanthropy can come in and do it in a unique way. And then if it works very well, over time, government will change the educational approach or the health approach. And philanthropy can be a lot of fun. It can be very high impact. And so we've had collaborations, not just with the government, but also with some of the philanthropists in Indonesia. Dr. Tahir's worked with us over the years. The Tanoto Foundation, the Tahia Foundation, a number of you, and we look forward to expanding that. Philanthropy is growing quite a bit. For example, today in India, about half of the work we do is with philanthropists in India. And it's kind of a perfect combination because we understand the global science very well, and the local philanthropist understands how you communicate, how you work with the government. They can go and see, is it really working, is it not working? And so these collaborations, I'm hopeful that we'll have more of those in the future. Even though there's a lot of challenges in the world today, some of the aid budgets are being cut in the rich countries because of the Ukrainian war and other challenges. I actually am optimistic that even if in the short run, in some parts of the world, particularly Africa, that the death rate may actually go back up a bit. If we take a longer time frame, and look at the next 20 years, I think we can achieve a lot. We can finish polio. The only disease that was ever eradicated was smallpox, and so polio would be the second major disease. We're very close to doing that. And once we finish polio, we'd like to try and eradicate measles and malaria as well. We have some new tools for that. And of course, part of my optimism about the innovation is because we have now artificial intelligence. And artificial intelligence, I can't state strongly enough how amazing this tool is, even in the last 6 months. The improvement, I know Satya Nadella from Microsoft was here last year talking about data centers and working with the government on those, some of those things. But the AI is going to help us discover new tools and even in the delivery of health and education and agriculture advice, we'll be using AI. So, I've really enjoyed the philanthropic work, and I look forward to doing more. And again, thanks for the incredibly warm welcome that the President has provided for me. Thank you.
Mungkin ada yang mau menyampaikan pandangan atau pertanyaan, saya persilakan. Silakan.
Terima kasih Bapak Presiden. Well, first of all, thank you, Mr. Gates, for your contribution to Indonesia and also to the world. Under the direction of Bapak Presiden, actually, as a Minister of Investment, and also at the same time, I lead the CEO of Dengan, which is our newly established sovereign wealth fund. And yesterday morning, we had a discussion with your team, because in Dengan we also setting up the Dengan Trust Fund. And on the internal discussion, we are committed actually to put 1 to up to 2.5% of our dividend payout ratio. So if you look at the number, actually, every year in the Dengan Trust Fund, we are going to put every year at least $100 million. And for the next 5 years, even 5 to 6 years, if we look at the number, actually we will pledge to put up to $1 billion in the Dengan Trust Fund. So there's a potential collaboration with Gates Foundation also, because we are looking also in the same line of industries such as education, health, sanitation, and poverty alleviation. So again, there's potential collaboration, and we look forward get your feedback also on this. Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm working with Pak Rosan basically because every year I have a 1 billion rolling over grant for all institutions, and most of them come from the Gates Foundation, like Global Fund. Yeah. And that is where I learned that in developed country, the philanthropy funding average is 2% of. So the potential in Indonesia with 1.5 trillion GDP is $30 billion per annum. However, many Indonesians would like to give, but the money they give is taken through Indonesia, but through other countries. Because during COVID, I received a lot of grant from Pak Mukhtar, Sinar Wijaya, from Tanoto Foundation, but through other countries. The reason is because we don't have a trusted entities, because trust cannot be forced, it has to be earned. So that's why I talked with Pak Rosan, maybe we can establish, copying what Temasek Trust has, creating a Danantara Trust. And I wish Pak Bill, you can sit at the board with Pak Ray Dalio, your friends, because Pak Ray Dalio and Bill Gates also sit at the board of the Chinese philanthropic education. Pak Rosan have the ample of money as a catalytic functions, and I believe all of our friends here can contribute also, and you can also help to contribute. And Pak Gates have a systematic management that can help us earning the trust for these people so they can start giving the money to us. Thank you.
Mr. Gates, would it be possible to talk about non-health issues today?
Certainly.
Thank you. My understanding is that you're very interested and you've invested a lot of money in renewable energy. I've had several meetings with one of your partners, Edward Young, who is one of your partners, I believe still is one of your partners. So I'd like to know your thoughts about nuclear energy, SMRs. I understand you're in fact investing in Wyoming and nuclear energy, SMRs, You may know that our government is going to embark on a very ambitious nuclear power generation program. The second thing is on nature-based solutions. I'm very much into nature-based solutions and environmental issues. Reforestation, basically, is my passion, wildlife, and through wildlife, reforestation and restore habitats for wildlife. So I'd like to know what you wanted to do and where you're going with your nuclear and your views on nature-based solutions. Thank you.
Yeah, so, as I started doing the foundation work, it became clear to me that we need low-cost electricity to help countries develop. But I also started to be educated about climate change and, understanding that, we have to reduce emissions eventually to zero. So I talked to my friends about, okay, can we make nuclear energy cheap? So I started a company in 2006 that's called TerraPower to make what's called a fourth generation reactor. Today's reactors are water cooled and they have a lot of pressure in the reactor. And so they're a bit complicated, so often the cost can be very high. And so I thought, it's very hard to start a new design, but that would be a huge benefit. And so now it's taken longer than we expected. We started out as being a joint venture in China, and then the US government decided they didn't like us working in China. And so we had to change, and actually now, as you said, we're building our first reactor in the United States. There's a lot of countries that really need nuclear energy. And so we have to make it cheap, and we have to show that this new design is extremely safe. Places like Japan, South Korea, France, the UK, they have in their plans a desire to use nuclear energy. But right now the plants are expensive. And so we are hoping as we build 20 of these reactors, the cost can be very low. Part of that will be through a very strong partnership we have with some companies in South Korea. Hyundai and SK are investors in this work. And so in 2030, that first reactor will turn on. And so during that decade, we would hope to build over 30 gigawatts of electricity.
Karunia yang diberikan oleh Yang Maha Kuasa kepada kita sungguh sangat besar dan sungguh sangat beragam. Namun, tengah segala karunia tersebut, kita pun harus berani untuk menjadi bangsa yang berani, bangsa yang tidak takut tantangan, bangsa yang tidak takut rintangan, bangsa yang tidak takut ancaman.